When was it?
Aye.
When really I can't get the photo taken and tell you at the one time, I'd have to think of it. The only thing I'll tell you about the first film, I could not answer that. But the first film then, Ederney was held on the 1st of the month. And I don't know how long it was going at the 1st of the month. Till it was changed to the 15th. And the reason that they changed it was it fell on Oma Fair on the first Tuesday a couple of times, and then they changed it, the committee changed it to the 15th. But what year I would not tell, when it opened or when it started, I wouldn't tell you. And I should be able to tell you, for I was at the meeting up in the town hall. At the opening.
Many pubs has been in the town that time.
How many pubs?
Well, there wasn't any more than there's now.
There was Goyce Duncan's, some McGrath's, Boyd Murphy's, and Eve's. 4.
Was there 4?
Oh,
Oh, Boyd's is gone.
yes.
That's the only one
It was up there
that,
at
Boyd owned that pub.
Where's it?
Mohan's.
Where Moohan's living, Jackie Moohan lives
Jackie
there,
Mohan
and the
lives in
wife.
it.
See, Jackie Moohan and the wife.
And where's the other pubs you're saying here?
McGrath. James McGrath and Adam Ogle.
And Goyce Duncan's down where Curtis is.
Gosh, Duncan?
Goyce
I don't
Duncan.
mind him, I mind Ogle there.
And
Adam
when
Eves.
Goyce died, he left it to his sons in Killeary. Junie and George and Sammy and the other brother.
Killeary?
He lived, do you know where Joe Aiken lives?
Hi, Julie.
Well, that's where he come from, Goyce Duncan, where the Duncans come from. And they had 3 sons. And they got George and Sammy and the other fella. But they didn't keep it long, for they had a lot of Montgomerys and they had a lot of customers, I think, that get
Tommy and Jimmy.
Tommy and Jimmy Montgomery would, and several other.
Ex-army man.
They were ex-army men, it doesn't matter whether they were
Main
ex-army.
Daly boy.
Was Montgomery's not plasterers?
They were
plasterers
builders,
and
Julie.
builders. They
Good
lived
man.
over there in Market Street beside Pat Goller.
That was their house next to Pat Goller's.
I think so, at the gate.
Was, I mind them living there.
Well, do you?
I do, Julie.
Well,
They had a good black donkey.
they had.
And a great talking donkey.
And they had that land out of beside Mrs. Lily's, behind Victor Simpson's.
That's right.
They owned it.
Didn't one of them go to Castleair?
Aye.
I don't know.
One of them go to Castleair?
I couldn't tell you.
One of them went to Castleberry.
I thought so.
He did. You're right, the youngest, Tommy, got married to some grocer up at Ballinamallard, and they only spent, I don't know, I was at their house, I bought a horse off them at Ballinamallard. The time he was leaving it, and he went to live at Castleberry. I don't think they lived long. I know where they lived, and he turned into the Van Road on the corner.
That house is gone now.
It might be gone now, it might not, but I was in it once. Oh, I knew her. I think she was a nurse.
I mind down in Montgomery.
I'm not dead sure. Remember a little bit. I knew Tommy. I bought a horse off him before he left Ballinamallard. He had a farm along.
So many shops were in the town that time, Claude? Do you remember?
Many shops.
Aye.
Well, this from the corner down to Jim Casti's, it was all shops.
Oh, sure.
All shops. Kevin O'Neill's was a draper shop, which was a Miss Rob. And she gave out,
Did you not live at the toilets there?
Miss Rob didn't live at the toilets.
Did you know?
No, it was that wrong girl from Longford. It was the dressmaker who lived at the toilet. What do you call her? With the big mouth of her.
I mind her,
She had a
Julie.
couple of
Maggie Crozier and them worked for her.
Maggie Crozier and George Knox's sister worked with her and a couple of other girls. And she was a dressmaker. She wasn't a draper. Miss Rob was a draper there, next door to where Kevin O'Neill was. And they went down then till...
Pat Murphy.
Not at
Oh,
all.
God.
They went down till Goyce Duncan's. And then you went to Simpson. Well, John R. Crozier had a shop
Right.
where Simpson lived. In my early days, there was a man named Chapman lived in it,
Right.
and it was a commercial hotel up was on the wall up above.
Oh, I've seen it.
And he kept, I think he kept people at night. And he had a post car, and I remember the two sons, Bobby and Willie, and he had a field up where John McElhill lives, at that lane where McElhill, they called it Chapman's Field. I mean, being up with the Cubs in it, Bobby and Willie Chapman. So, who was in then after Chapman? You went down there to Drury's to where the post office is.
I drew that.
That post office wasn't always there.
No,
Oh, no.
there was no, the post office wasn't there at all. It was on the other side of the gate. Evan Ingram's, it was the post office. But he had a grocery shop along with the post office. And he sold meal and flour and had a pony.
Any other little thing.
Any other little thing. He sold everything. But
That's what they kept saying when anybody was ordering. Any other little thing.
and then you left it and you went down to Jim Campbell.
In Maguire. Out of Kirkcaldy.
Well, he
Jimmy's
wasn't
father
living,
was a magpie, wasn't he?
he wasn't living there at that particular time. But as far as I know, in my early days, it was a police barrack.
Aye.
And there was a black hole in it.
Oh,
And the police lived there.
that's right.
And there was a policeman, that man that died in Evanstown was born over there in Barney Maguire's. What do you call the man that died in Evanstown? Pew, duck long dead. There was a parish priest in it. Name him you.
And where?
Evanstown. He was born over
Coffee.
there.
Oh,
Sure.
just how Jimmy used to keep graham for him.
Jimmy who?
How Jimmy Kirkcaldy.
Not at
Who
all.
were they father trainer?
He wasn't Sinner. No, that's not the name. He died in Evanstown, I think. And I think he was a parish priest then.
Hello,
But he was born. He was born over there in Barney Maguire's house beside Pat Goller's.
You always had to go with it.
Oh, 40,
Aye.
50 years ago.
Farm hours, Jesus.
Double that.
Wasn't there even White Hill that used to be in White Hill?
He was in Evanstown, and it was the same. He was, I think, a parish priest, and he was born over there. I know.
What don't have had him?
He's dead.
On the left or the right side?
I can't make names. And I should know them. But
Up the hill, on top of the hill.
Aye, it's only just around the corner there on that.
but whatever he was, his name was, his father was a policeman. Anyway. That's what I'm telling you.
And then the other side of the street, Claude.
What other
Oh,
side?
I went down Cassie's end of the shop there. They always a shop there, had they?
No, it was a police barrack.
Oh, I think so, but below that again was there any shops or?
Well, below that was Thompson's.
Blacksmith.
But he was a blacksmith. They had that's sort of a hardware shop in it. You know.
Blacksmith Thompson.
But what a blacksmith would sell.
Was him my father bought Roger off.
Was it?
But
I never knew
you
that
know what
before,
bought it.
but I knew
He always
Roger.
made in for it when he was down the thing.
Then the other side of the street.
What other side?
No, next
He was
road
down
is
in
the
the
shop.
garden room here. He's the Murphy, the butcher.
Oh, is that the top of the street?
Yeah, that was there where the bank is, Murphy.
We'll start at the bottom of the street
Right,
down
and
Go away
where Don McKern lives.
Right.
Mickey
That was-
Doherty.
He was no Mickey Doherty. He was a saddler.
For your time.
He made harness and fixed harness, and he could make you a new set of harness,
Well,
make you a new coat, make you new anything. He was little, and he had a son working at the trade. They both worked together.
well,
Well, that's who he was, saddler at
that's
Liverpool.
where Don's living.
Yes. And you left Don's and you come up to the corner to
Miss
Sproul.
Ellis.
Alex was a baker
Mine,
and
her.
a grocer.
I mean, the two Martins, Lena and...
They were reared in it.
They were around there.
That girl that you mind was an aunt of theirs.
Married to Bob Miller.
I know it down. I
Well,
the young one.
Lena,
She was reared in it.
or another one that married Jim that lived down there, Gilacroy.
Couldn't tell you where
They
they
were
lived,
there.
but they were reared in it.
There were 2 young girls there.
Well, they were Martins from Mullaghmore, but Alex was their aunt,
That's
and they had a baker's shop there.
Then you
And
come
John
up
Doherty's father was the last man that was baking in that bakery. And I remember him when we were cubs at the back gate, Henry Doherty going over. And he always had an alarm clock with him. He carried it on. They're supposed to put on the bread for it. I don't know, damn. But they had a son and he was out to like, he was Billy Elliot, a very nice fella. I think he just joined the Dippers and went away kind of religious. But he used to go to like out to cash with the bread van and a horse and van selling bread and selling it along the farm. And the small loaf was a penny halfpenny.
Penny halfpenny?
Oh,
A penny halfpenny. And the big
Give me 3 of them.
and the big loaf was 3D. That was great. And the small, but that small loaf that you get today, whatever held price is 40 or 50 bob, whatever held price. It was a penny halfpenny.
Yeah,
And I remember Hugh Rush's brother, Eddie, and we could find it, you would know when it was coming out for you, smell it. You'd find it on the street, the smell of the bread when Paddy and would go in and buy a hot loaf of and it's reeking warm, it'd be no time out. And we'd take it out, and we used to pull it apart and oh, that's as true as God's and I'm the mind that right.
Then you come up to William Maguire.
I come up there and out the street
I'm
from Alice.
across over the road from William Maguire.
Went up to our own house, and then we come up the street, and on the far side of the street was all small houses on up to, there was no shops,
Oh no.
there was small houses and Gormleys and
That was together the thing on our face.
aye,
The main door.
and
Well, yeah, thatched
McSorley's.
houses up there.
The wall. The wall.
Them are thatched houses.
The wall.
They were all thatched houses,
Aye.
and they were all small houses.
I mean, coming up the street around.
Paddy Murphy lived there.
Paddy Murphy lived, the Murphys lived at the corner, they had a butcher shop,
They had indeed.
where the bank stands today.
That's
That was
right.
the only shop that was from the
And
left.
geese and everything then, they used to go down to the rubber.
The geese sat on the street,
Right.
flocking the same as.
They used to go down to the rubber and they
There
did
was
and come
nothing
up
to
back up
annoy.
again.
There was nothing to annoy the geese. There was no traffic to do it. They could sit there on the street.
Well, who hell else? So somebody else lived in that road, Bill. Somebody lived in that
The
road.
McPhillamys lived next door
That's
to
right.
Murphy's.
Aye. Tell him it's Johnny and
Old John Rowe, he was a knitter. I think he was an ex-army man. Sam Rowe was John Rowe, he was Rowe anyway. And Daly's Pat's 2 women living there, and I was afraid of them for he'd take you in and wouldn't get out again. Well, I think we were warned that Dolly's Pats had been weird, just to keep you at home from going up the street. If we had any business up the street or had to go, we'd cross Beolas and come up here past and go up by Putton, up to Rosie Simmons for sweets or if you wanted to go. But the geese was always there, and whatever else there yonder would be across it.
make out to you.
He did catch me with the arse of the trousers and pull me down. Toss me. And Christ, who come to lift me only Dolly's Pat? Well, the yonder was bad enough, but Dolly's Pat was worse. And I said she could take me home and wouldn't in the roars. But the critter wasn't do me any harm, for they wouldn't touch you at all. Should have carried me home someday.
Well, he was above the bank now up in McCabe's corner.
Who was what?
Who owns it now?
Who owned what?
Okay, we found it. Lee owned it.
No, but above the
what?
bank. Above where the bank is now.
McPhillamys and
McPhillamys here, Murphy's on the corner. They had a butcher shop on that corner.
I had
Thanks.
never mind the thing over there, can I
And
bet?
there was an zinc thing over where lads could stand if it's wet.
And that one,
And the windows in
why do
behind.
you call the one that someone wrong with their face or nose?
Gormley. From
And
scratch.
Kathy gone there, and
She was.
she wore a shawl on her face.
Yes.
Oh, I went her well.
Well, then who lived across the street then from the bank up where McVeigh's store is?
Mulhern.
I'm Mulhern.
James
James
Mulhern.
Mulhern had a grocery shop up there.
Grocery shop.
Yes, he had a
Yeah.
good grocery shop.
I made
And he was a
him
terrible,
go
nice
with
fella.
Australia.
And he had, yeah,
I do indeed.
and he had 2 or 3 farms of land and he had men working.
I
He
made
owned that land.
Tony owns it.
He owned that land out in Ederney, Claude that Dunion owns. And he owned the farm. He
Well,
owned that
the school
field where the school and the chapel's built. That was Mulhern's field.
Oh, it's good. That's a good farmer on.
And he had a farm of land up at the
I
Philippines bought it.
Philippines bought it.
Yes,
That was his.
up on the hill as you go up to Philippines.
Ah, sure.
That was
It.
Mulhern's farm.
That old house was on it there.
And he kept men working and
A
farming.
nice man, McVeigh.
Christ, he was a very
I
nice
don't
fella.
know. They didn't know what they thought.
He took it up
He
and
left the whole thing to McGrath. And
I don't know what the hell he left or who he left.
James had owned this place.
Ah,
His father.
House, where it is.
The big house up at the corner.
Aye.
It used
Father
to be,
gone
it used to be a Father Mohan and a Father Caulfield lived in it. It was a priest's house.
That's where Miss Moon's living now.
Aye, the big house where
Aye.
Mrs. Mohan lived, where the old woman lives. It was a priest stopped in it. Well, they had, I suppose, had a weekly rent. It'd be all the Evans estate, the whole village of that, and you took the
His brother, the postman, lived there.
he lived in lucky years ago, was the time he went away.
Oh, Christ, a brave lucky years ago.
Well,
His
brave
brother,
lucky
Nathan and
years.
Jimmy and-
It's not very long ago, because Christ and Sprana lived in two
only a couple
cubs.
of years ago that.
Only a couple of
About
years.
60 years ago, I know.
Christ is nothing of the kind.
Johnny, what do you call him? Boyd Murphy lived in the house next to it.
Of course he did.
But that's where he had the pub.
Aye.
When he had the pub.
That was where Jackie moving out of the house now. That was a pub. And the McFarlanes lived in the, what do you call it?
The market house.
Aye.
The McFarlanes was reared that they were caretaker. We'd say they were
Aye,
caretaker.
aye, well, someone
There'd be a
like.
caretaker in the back of the market house where the house was. Where
And they
the,
lived in there.
they did. And was reared in there. But I suppose they'd get maybe it for nothing for caretakers for.
And then you come round the corner,
I don't
Jimmy
know.
McCabe and the 2 sisters and the mother lived. You mean?
Lived over there, across
where?
the street.
Evans lad lives there now.
Yeah.
Eh? No. The toilet's there.
No.
Mrs. Evans' son lives there, surely.
Oh,
Lizzie-
the toilet
Lizzie and
No,
Annie.
no, the toilet's was.
what is
She was
it?
Miss Parker.
Parker.
She was from Longford.
And
She was
then
a dressmaker.
the crowd that took over the market house for buying eggs took it over and
Who
the-
did?
that Gracie took it over for making boxes.
Oh, she did. That's only like yesterday.
Only the day before.
Or the day.
Boy, Dick used to make egg boxes in there.
Yeah.
Well, I remember in the old days, the Scottish Cooperative come from Enniskillen every Thursday. And they had Annie Corley and the Corleys of Evanston with them. And Maggie Shinnon from the back street. And what they were doing in there was packing butter into big boxes, about 2 stone in every box. And bought eggs and bought anything that people had come in to sell. Don't know whether they bought fowl or not, but there
Oh,
was
tell
lots.
them about the McGraths.
But
No,
I know that the Corleys of Evanston, that was Charlie's father and mother, they worked in it.
Aye.
And one of the Shinnons was the bikes, and they were packing butter in it. And Johnny McCartan even would draw it away to cash and put it on the
Train.
put it on the railway wherever it went. The see it went a lot of us bought butter, it went away to make sweets.
Aye.
At least they told that. I know damn where it was.
Wasn't much on. George Grace would have been good enough.
To Grace Church.
You mind when I was Kelly and McVeigh when Jimmy
It wasn't sold. There was only a couple of people sold country butter at that time in the shop.
own did.
Garnish. You put in it. It was
Yeah,
good.
I know what it done.
Ah, you couldn't have it much.
Oh, Crossmarks did what other shops there?
Aye.
It's
Jimmy Connors, he was in Jimmy Connors.
Oh, him, we Jimmy himself, Barlow. And Miss McKelvey. The doctor putting it at a dispensary.
where?
That's right.
Where the McFarlanders living now was a dispensary.
That was a dispensary.
Jimmy Goller, John, old Barney, Snod, Maguire, Paddy's father.
That's where the priest was born.
Barney,
Barney Maguire, with that man that I can't name.
old Barney Maguire, Vances.
Yeah.
The Francis and opposite the street.
The other
That's in
side
the
of the
far side
gateway.
of the city, she worked for a moment.
Aye.
Then you had, what do they call the girls? That,
They were Browns. Lived at the corner. They were dressmakers.
was there somebody else there too?
Well,
Oh, Jesus, Hanny Brown, aye.
Henry Brown and Maggie Brown.
An auntie cup.
Well, I'll tell you who was
Then you
there.
had McGovern and
I'll
Willie
tell-
Vant, or
I'll tell you who was there. And he was a faddick. You know where the, what do you call it, the guest house was? The,
that man that lived in Cash's and Lodge of Jimmy Cash's father Coffee.
Christ sake, quit speaking about that. We're out at the corner, away from Father Coffey's, a mile away from it. We're out at the left.
Old Billy Hughes and Kathleen.
Billy Hughes and Kathleen, but then in the cafe who lived, it was a priest, Father Kearney lived in it.
That's where Billy Hughes lived.
Billy Hughes didn't live at the corner. He lived
He lived
Over.
next door to
He
McGovern.
lived next door
Jimmy
to it.
McGovern and Jim McGuire lived next door in the wee house at the corner. Belonged to your father. And the other house, them houses belonged to your father. Or the McGuire family, whatever you want to call it.
They didn't belong to my father, or they belonged to James McGuire, who in America. If you want.
Well,
The bottom of James McGuire in the last lot of years.
your father or some of them McGuire's owned them anyway.
Yes.
That was Jane Gillespie, the cafe, and where Joe Flanagan lived that you went down steps to up the McGovern's old house.
They, there was a man the name of Caldwell built them houses, Paddy.
Them who? Aye.
It was Caldwell. And the story went that in the building that he went bankrupt.
Aye.
And James Maguire, a brother of my dad, took them over and he finished them. Whatever, I don't know, a father were on or no damn all about them, only when I put the story. But he finished them. From Frank McGee's, it was the first house and on
I
down
don't know already, yeah.
till you went up the pump lane to
He just
McGovern.
last night down
And there was
the
a couple of
Kelvin,
small Paddy Thinners and Paddy Mannon was reared down the steps where Flanagan's lived.
Oh, that's
There was
right.
3 houses up the pump lane.
It wasn't true. Paddy, who's that man?
I'll tell you no more.
Oh, Conway? No, ma.
So, you know the gardens there? Who owned the gardens?
Who owned the
Up the
gardens?
pump lane. But that's where Bella Terrace is.
The
right?
Helms. The Helms had a garden. James
The
McGrath
town,
had a garden.
the town didn't own them gardens at all. The people in Market Street owned them. Jimmy Guller had a garden. John Vance had a garden.
Bee.
That was up the pump lane. This man here, McGrath, had
Paddy's Leonard.
Who?
Paddy Trainer.
Here
No,
one.
no.
the Greys next door
Aye.
had a garden. And James
John
McGrath.
Vance.
And John
James
Vance.
McGrath.
James McGrath, yes.
And I think Master O'Neill
Master O'Neill's was
Next
next door.
next door.
Was next door and the 2 gardens was together.
And Paddy Leonard had a while attack with B.
New Street then, who lived up for what? There's no shops up that.
No, well,
Only the one pub.
Oh, no betting shop, was
he
it?
was the needles.
Eh?
He was the needles pub way back then.
Who's that? But I never mind that only had that in me.
Oh, thank you before him.
I don't know the Italian name.
Claude, he was needed in London.
Who was an Eveses? Well, the night that Adam Eves bought it, he bought the P. Duncan.
Duncan, oh, there's you're
And well, before Duncan, he was an old man that he was Frith, him and his sister,
Oh,
William,
I did hear that of them.
William Frith, and the sister, and they owned it. And I think it was a Frith that P. Duncan, he come from Australia. He was married to one of McCart's, sister John of McCart's. They bought it off Frith. Nancy, who'd
Lane Road in McGovern.
well, that's Rosa.
She left from there in the house.
Yeah, McGovern's was out to Leyden Claw from Eves to the back street that we're talking about. Christ, you go far apart. So them men wouldn't understand what you're talking about. Neither do I mean, that's what I tell you. I don't understand what you go for bloody so many miles away from one, what you're talking about, you go to the other.
It's a bit complicated.
It is. Just to leave it a wee bit.
Then them houses on up the street, up to the garden. That's Manus at the garden.
Up to Manus's garden.
Who
Well,
owned them? Cunningham's owned one, the first one beside the pub.
well, I'm going to tell you who owned them as far as I would make out. Whenever you went up to John McElhill's, from that up till Flax Lane, when you went down to Flax, all them.
Well, this is from Flax's down.
This is from McElhill's up to Flax.
Oh, McHill's up to Flax's, right?
Well, you can put it any of the two ways, or from Flax down,
Right,
if you want to. Doesn't matter. Well, the people in New Street, we called it the back street at that time, all owned a garden.
Right.
And there were some of them good gardeners and some of them bad gardeners. Now the Shannons was good gardeners, McPhillips was good gardeners, and they produced a lot of stuff in them. If potatoes, cabbage, beans, peas, or whatever you go. And McManus's, they were the last garden. That was married till Joe Daly. Do you know where they did? Joe
Andrew
Daly.
Daly was.
Pat McManus.
Andrew Daly was.
Pat McManus.
Andy Daly. Well, they had it.
Should know him.
You should have known him. I'd think you should. Well, did you know that they had the farthest garden up at the very top, and the time he was up, he was picking potatoes. When he died up there, God of
He was got dead in the
That was
garden.
Andy Daly.
That was Andy
Oh,
Daly.
Joe's father. He was got dead.
I remember that as well as I remember coming down to Ederney the day and got a wild surprise when I heard about him being dead and what he was doing. But that was their gap. All the people that owned the houses, if you could grow weeds in it, or you could. McPhillips had a good garden, McManus had a good garden, and produced a lot of cabbage and beans and whatever hell they want, you know. But and done them well. And the Shannons had had the first garden. Oh God, there was someone.
Can you tell me Mrs. Daly's name? Had name on all of them. Nell Wow. Nell Wow.
I knew her, I
Nell
knew
Wow.
Alan, and I knew the three
You mind
brothers,
the
Johnny
region?
and
Nell
Jim,
Wow, they called that.
and Mick, three
Or
of them.
Billy Rushers live in Nell Wow.
The McCreases, they lived in one of these.
McVeigh. Aye. My God, they were characters. I say they were characters. Thought I could tell you something about them.
Not very much.
Oh God, aye. Lord alive, when Jimmy Kirsty used to be coming up the country, and waking up and one of them said, oh, Lord alive, to the square dirty progress, rotten butter was past this night.
Well, there's a forge in New Street as well, Claude.
Well, thanks this. Jimmy and Kit and Kirsty.
Well, I remember 4 forges in this village.
Four of them.
Aye.
4 of them. Thompson's where Johnny Munnan lived,
Aye.
and McLaughlin's out where John McPhillips lives,
Never mind it.
and Murphy's up where
Oh, I mind more.
Where,
It's more as well as I mind yesterday.
Kevin Thingme has a chemist shop.
Yeah.
Karen Riley.
Kevin Riley, that was the
Right.
forge down in there.
Murphy's was up the road, Cash Road there.
Eh?
Murphy's Wood was up for Nora Cash. They took it over then for a car park or a place for locking a car and went to a station. Beside where Riley's has a dripper or some old convenience. I don't know, the
Was
Camet.
One in New Street as well, wasn't there? In Back Street.
What?
There's a forge down there, wasn't there?
Oh, the
Oh, it
Hexus.
was a great
That's
boat.
From one of the best in the town, the Don Gruden.
Oh, yes.
Big double hearth in it.
Double
Very
hearth.
good, that was a big place.
Oh, God, that was a big forge and a good one.
It belonged to Master Wally Evan.
It belonged to the landlord.
Well, Master Wally took it over.
And
And I mind a fella curing horses down there in Monaghan's yard or down a bit there.
he was a good.
Those are,
He
well, they
was,
couldn't, and Joe, Jimmy Hicks. Then the Hickses moved down to Monaghan to Cohoa there.
We put them up at forge down there.
they,
Got
got,
a bit of a tin shop.
they were put out of the forge
Right.
for not paying the rent.
Oh, my
But
God.
they had a good forge in the back street, but sure, Jimmy could keep them on him.
Well, the rubber forge and I was working there with them.
Aye.
And Daly Reid come down. Jimmy Hicks was there.
Here's I'll go in there.
Daly Reid said,
What won the big sprint?
Aye.
Polish Patriot,
Who's here?
6 to 1. That's it.
Where did?
Hannigan's.
Well,
That is
Huey Riley was one of
You're
them.
up on, you're in 10 Downing Street now.
Million Murphy, Huey
They called it
Riley.
10 Downing Street.
Hey,
Million Murphy, Huey Riley.
Mary Ann Murphy, Jesus, they
Paddy.
only come into it in late years. He's talking about long ago, I think. He
Huey
is.
Riley was a shoemaker or a cobbler or
Huey
whatever.
Riley's about the third door down.
There you
First
go.
house was Coulter's, who at the very, very top.
Coulter.
Coulter, Thompson's. She Sam Turner, God of Mercy, couldn't used to make them Coulter's, Thompson's, Shannon's, Riley's, Monham's, Reed's, Hearns, Harris, Cabe's, Gunningall's, Adam Eves,
Tom Maguire.
McManus's. Couldn't used to make him stand in the middle of the class and name the houses on the back street.
And then there was any interest.
So that is
The run of Turner family was Pax, Sam, Mary Ann, James, Joe and Tommy. That was the Turner family. Pax, Sam,
One
Maggie
teaching school at that time.
that was his own
Pax,
family.
Sam, Maggie
I know, but it's
Sam
good.
and Pat and Big Tom Watt and James and Maggie Ann. They called the father Big Tom Watt.
what a. She used to carry the damn sugar in the out of his trousers. No, the ladies. Pax, Sam, Maggie Ann, James, Joe and Tommy.
It was massive. One teaching school then.
And then
I
it's a
will
brave
not
way
say
since
who
it's a
was
brave
teaching.
way since
Who
the
was
tailor lived there at Laughlin. William at Laughlin. Molly Rolson served at the time when Master Jim Mannan fell in. Forgot to say saving your present. Zurich, what's the hell?
No, they were the Beltons.
Dalton,
Mrs. Archtel, Peter's mother was about, I think they were on supper at first. But she was separated from Archtel. I think she stormed about. Before she was out to Tenney.
that's right.
Peter Arstein's mother.
Peter
Right.
Archtel's mother
That's
was
right.
Mrs. Q. Archtel. The
Dorn.
second time, she married an
John
architect.
Dorn from Newcastle on time.
Dan Dorn was the architect at the building of Bundoran Chapel.
That's right.
And he felt she was about Bundoran.
He fell in love with her.
He fell in love with her.
When you come to the bridge down there, many of us lived on the bridge at that time.
Aye.
And many of us lived below the bridge at that time.
Aye.
Down at the bridge. Well, there was whenever you passed the bridge, the first house was Frida's, the
Aye.
next was McDermott's, and McManus lived at the corner house in the Ederney before they went to live in the back street, in New Street, at the last Pat McManus. And the McDermotts lived there too.
Same
And the man,
day.
the name of Muldoon. Fields was the first house. I think he was a ploughman in Cahor. It come from Donegal way down somewhere. I don't know.
down with Field, wasn't it?
I mind the woman, Owl Mrs. Field, died, but Owl Field was married and reared two sons that went away to America and a daughter. But
You Russian and mother lived there, I think.
they didn't live there in the small
They lived in the
houses.
barn over in-
There was two bigger houses over farther near there where them new houses was built to Patsy Kane tossed all them houses and built them new houses at the Seals yourself. But there was 4 small houses and there was 2 bigger houses.
Pat Reid lived in one.
Very rush.
Sir Wilson's lived there too.
And then
And the Lawsons lived.
Pat Reid lived there.
Pat Reid lived in one of the small houses.
Dead here there.
That was the Moran family.
And then
Paddy Mannon,
Paddy Mann's father lived in one of them, you know.
Paddy Mannon's
The
father.
last son,
Paddy Mannon's father never lived in them.
did
But
the body
Paddy,
died down there.
when he maybe died with the son, but he lived in the Pump Lane. And that's where Paddy was
I'll
reared.
tell you something.
And his daughter, his sister was married to Barney Dolan.
The
Andy
morning,
Dolan.
the morning he was dead, I went down with Pat, and Barney was to make a sleigh, and the Barney that lost was dead, and she chased it, Barney's own mother. So that's right where I go. Barney had invited Pat down to make him a sleigh, and we took the stuff down, and Barney that lost was dead that morning, she chased it, and I went up that road quicker. As far as I know, Annie Dolan's still living.
She is, I'm told.
Where's she?
Up in Ermstown country.
She was married to one of the Maguires in
One
Ederney.
of Daly's connection.
Oh,
So Daly's the other day and the chat come up with her.
Well,
That's one of them men you were talking about there.
she's living yet.
That's a middle-aged man, you wouldn't think it.
was Barney doing on the cutscene or something?
He was,
He
young
was,
Barney, he was. He was on the police and got broke for marrying too soon.
Oh,
And then he joined the police and he died long ago.
He was in the costumes at Cronus.
He wasn't he?
did I mean Barney don't take me in to search me one time?
Did they?
Clones,
You were coming from the state.
Clones was dead.
You would.
Oh, some whiskey.
And then the custom slapping down was one night coming the time that father Kevin Cassidy got her down to call his out and says that for trips of clothes that was coming out of the Free State, around to Patrick Cassidy and Jack. And when the whole thing was over, they could get the 2 suits. Only one coat, and I said, I have it on me. Under my own. And the custom man took me out one side and took Patsy out the other. And I told him that wasn't for any games, that this was done, that this man been ordained. And he took Patsy out one and took him out, and he told him the same. They come in and packed the suit down on the counter. Now yours, you was there, and we offered to pay the duty and they wouldn't take it.
I can't even the gardener there.
He was carpenter making charts for Jimmy Guller and Healy and them in a kind of a north place below.
Was he connected with Charlie McGarty?
He was Charlie's married daughter, Charlie, up Knockhead.
Huh?
She was working Knockhead there below Paddy goes in Charlie married the parent there. Fine looking girl, she's still alive.
That's all.
Who is? Kelly's not.
Charlie McGarty's wife is in a wheelchair. It was Kelly around there. We say Kelly.
Who's at the building of it then? Or where did the stones come from?
They come from that old quarry down on the
Jack and Albany.
Carrigan Albany. Came at Laughlin. And a lot of other men, Big Philip Morris did in the horses and carts, and I, Father Flanagan was sledging himself and me along for nothing. You fed yourself too.
Where at?
Down at that hole.
They didn't come from Carrick and Albany.
Isn't that sure?
Someone did, surely.
Some of them made. But not, the bank was built from Carrick and Albany.
Oh, but so plenty.
Oh, that was the games.
The hall was built from The White Rock,
White
wherever
Rock.
the White
That's
Rock.
right.
Someone there's someone there, Jim McLaughlin.
Christ's sake, how your children wouldn't christen him on it 2 or 3 days, had it throwing stones.
Aye, no, for nothing, send yourself.
You fed yourself and you got nothing, only you drew.
Ah, blimey,
All you got was D-A-B. No
Well,
home and a bar.
Did you have a good hall there, anyway?
They built a good hall, and he wasn't out of Paddy, he built himself and worked away himself.
You had a good
Father
worker.
Paddy, it was a top of him.
Took more to put the post on it than it took to build the hall.
Ah, they built,
It did, you're bloody right, Frank.
That's it.
It didn't, the building the house, the people, it wasn't out any money building the hall. It was all labour.
How would you make money when you had none?
Well,
There was no money in them days.
all the back.
Well, they had it anyway.
It was Jim Brino, Francie Brino, chatting about it. I said, he's still at the sheep. He says, them hills is getting far steeper than they used to. I'm not able to go up
Ah, but we do. They got that, we've had to go up some money. Jim Maguire, the rector they called him, didn't they? Wasn't they known as the rector?
That's what they called it.
They called him the rector, no offence.
That's a lot of records of torp.
What's the present that what that place down beside you there? That's what they're saying, how's that bus the place down here? You know the butcher that worked in the butcher?
Aye.
The same people.
Did he buy that house down there?
He did
The same.
sold on one side and bought the rough horse on another.
Huh?
When you come from Daly, it's for sale. When you come from Ederney, it's sold. They Scotland.
Core House, he owned it. Core House. Someone else owned it years ago, didn't it?
Down below.
I'm Maguire, the rector about it.
Next gen.
Maguire.
Yeah, but know the Core House.
I belong to Maguire.
But before them, McDonagh not owned it.
Oh, of course, Jim Mannon owned
I
it.
heard that before, yeah.
Jim Mannon owned our house when he married Molly Olsen. And he owned Gillespie. And Miss Fitch bought Gillespie.
And he owned Gortyearn.
He did indeed. But I don't know.
Jim Mullen did.
And they were cousins to Scotty Maguire. Jim Mannon.
Gillespie's and he owned
Jim Mannon and May Fallon were called cousins. Hey, Jim Mannon and May Fallon and Jim Mannon were called cousins. How May Fallon was the sister of James Mannon.
Yeah, that's so.
Good job you didn't contradict me on that.
I didn't contradict you. Darren,
He made McVeigh.
I do not.
And he was killed in the Darden there for a days after he joined the army.
Well, I didn't know him.
All this wasn't it one time?
First of all,
Of course there was.
and Jack Jonian taught it and built a house out of it. That house that Patsy Jonian living
It was a
in.
big build project.
Well, that's what it was down past Dunya.
Well, Patsy Jonian is living himself now, not the new bungalow. That was built from stones that are taught by the land buildings at Cahora by Jack Jonian. That's for sure. Contradict that if you like.
I meant to do that people in there. Meant to make room they had there. Remember?
I do indeed.
A brick, it's brick, weighs 60 foot high.
Burned it down.
Building blocks of wood.
They burned it to cut underneath it and blocked it.
Building blocks of wood.
Oh, I knew better way to talk.
Huh?
There was better way to talk than that.
Well, that's the way that's it.
I know. When you were built up area, you had to work different.
That's right.
Corbin to work different.
The first,
The man contracted us £500 on tossing alum and Corbin put him by 300.
the time that was built,
He put up no scaffolding. We put a hole in the brick and went up, tapped the stepping stone to come inside it.
so
Corbin said he
the
used
time
to
that mill was sold, what do you call it, for an Ernest? Yes, we get up a shop in it now. Hanlon. Joe Hanlon comes from
do.
London, the old man.
A lot
I know.
of